Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be talking about safety, but kind of looks like we're going to be stranded in the garage talking about the safety. So let's roll with the intro and then we'll get started. Get in the car like this and smile, there's something wrong with you. What is up? What is happening? What is going on, fam? Welcome back to the channel. As I said earlier, yes, we're going to talk a little bit about motorcycle safety. But before we get to all of that, let me introduce myself. This is Bad LSX Garage and I'm Chris. We do a little bit of everything here. If this is your first time stopping by, I just want to tell you, look, I'm glad to have you here. But we do a little bit of everything. Cars, trucks, motorcycles, unboxings, reviews, how-tos, vacations, you name it, and we do it. I do more motorcycle content than anything really, because to me, there's no other feeling than being in that saddle and life behind the bars. That's just the way it is, guys. But I also do shorts. I do daily shorts, and my shorts contain a little bit of everything. Some's about my channel, some's about controversial stuff. I've also got a lot of new subscribers from my shorts because, you know, people relate. And if you relate, I'd love to have you on this channel. If you don't relate and you're just here to start your own controversy, you won't be here long. I won't tolerate. Welcome. Love to have each and every one of you. I wish, if you've not subscribed yet, go down there and hit that subscribe button. It does not cost you a nickel, doesn't cost you a dime. It just helps push our content out farther. And when I say our content, I mean us YouTubers. Let's talk about motorcycle safety. So I'm sure a lot of you's probably been through the MSF courses or have been to some sort of class. When I say motorcycle safety, I'm meaning the checks in general, TCLOCS. So what does that mean? What's that abbreviation for? T stands for tires. C is for your controls. L is for lighting. O is for oils. Your C is for your chassis. And S is for your side stand. Do I do all these checks every time that I get on a motorcycle? No. But you guys tell me down in the comment section, do you? Let's get started. Let's start with tire. This is my number one, tires. Regardless whether this bike goes just around the corner to the gas station or whether it goes on a long ride, I'm always checking my tires. It's just my opinion. Yes, I check both tires, but I'm more fluent on this front tire than I am the back. You can have a blowout in the back tire and be okay. You can handle it. But 9 times out of 10, if you have a blowout on this front tire, it's going to be a bad day. I look for any kind of imperfection in the tire. I look for any kind of bald spots, any kind of places, gouges, tears, or anything on the sidewall, anything that's going to hinder me, anything that may cause a blowout, anything that may cause some sort of an issue. Now, I've already went over this tire. I went over it yesterday, actually, both front and back. And this is why I actually decided to go ahead and do a video on this, because I believe it is important. Now, after you've checked your tire, next thing you want to check is the tire pressure. For me, I run 40 in the front and 38 to 40 in the back. And the reason I do this personally, it's a 21-inch wheel, and I've always found that if you have more air pressure in the front like that, it's easier for slow speeds. So if you're doing parking lots, if you're doing things like that, it tends to help you maneuver a little bit better. Next is I check my rotors. I make sure everything looks good on that. I check all the bolts that's on the rotors, make sure there's no gaps, make sure everything looks good. I will even go, if I know that I'm going for an extended period of time, I will go around and even click off. You know, I'll get my tools out and click them off, make sure they're torque spec'd right, they're where they need to be. I'll go over and look at my brakes, my pads. I'll look and see how my pads look. Now, I also know that I've replaced the pads on this not long ago, so I know they're good, but I still look at them. I look at my wheel bearings. I make sure that I don't have any grease pouring out of each side. I also make sure you can tell if your wheel bearings are bad by wiggling around and pulling and pushing and by rolling. If you get a major roar, you can tell that it has bad wheel bearings. Now, right now, I know also that I just replaced the wheel bearings. I know they're good, but you hear that sound? That's my brake pads rubbing on my rotor, but I know everything is good. So now I'm going to go to the back. Now I get it. You know, you've got a tour. You know, you've got a big, heavy touring bike. It's hard to get to that back tire, especially if you've got it fixed the way I've got mine fixed. You've got the extended bags, it's sitting low to the ground, and it's just a headache. I get it. But would you rather take a little bit of time and have a little bit of a headache now, or would you rather have that headache on the road while you're 100 miles, 200 miles away from home? I know what my answer is, so I'm going to go ahead and take the time and do it now. As we did in the front, we're going to do the same with the back. We're going to check the tread. We're going to check the sides. We're going to make sure everything is up to speed, up to par. Move your tire, look over it very carefully. And then afterwards, we're going to check the tire pressure. Well, I'm sitting on 39 pounds, which is perfect for me. That's exactly where I need it to be. And that also gets me ready if I want to have my wife on the back, or if I'm loaded down heavy with equipment or whatever it may be, then I'm ready to go. After tires is controls. Now controls means just that. You got TCLOCS, remember? Tires, next is controls. You want to check your throttle, make sure it's working good. You want to make sure all of your levers, make sure they're in contact, make sure everything is hooked up accordingly. Make sure there's no leaks at the lines or anywhere. You want to come down, check your brake lines going into your calipers, make sure they're good and not frayed. Anything going on with those. You want to check, like I said, your clutch side too. Check, make sure it feels fine, feels okay. Make sure your clutch line is not frayed. Anything wrong with that, come down here, check, make sure if you've got an oil cooler, make sure there's nothing leaking. Make sure everything is intact. Everything is in working order the way it should. Come down here, check your linkage. I know I've got an aftermarket linkage on mine, but the Harleys are also notorious for braking. So you want to make sure that at that pivot point that there is no brakes, or it doesn't look like that anything is going to come off. If you've got something like what I've got, go through and make sure everything is tight. Everything is torqued to spec the way it needs to be. Everything is in working order as it should be. If I'm riding every day, I do it about once a week. That's what I do. Put in the comment section what you do. Next on the list is L. What's L? Lighting. Make sure every piece of lighting that you have works. So you come over here, turn on your bike, go to the front, go to the back, make sure everything is lit up as should be. Go hit your brakes. If you need somebody to help you, then go do that as well. Call somebody, or you can also get a rubber band or something, a zip tie, and zip tie it down just long enough to where you can see what's going on. But make sure to check your lighting, make sure everything's light up as should. When you hit your brakes, make sure that your strobe's working if you have strobes. Turning signals, check your right side on the back. Go check the left side on the back. Make sure all your instruments are working, everything is in good working order, which I know you'll have to start the bike to make sure, but you can still check the lighting. Is that, you know, are they lit up? Are they doing what they need to do? Then check everything on the front. Make sure your turning signals are working, your left side turning signal is working. And then also make sure the right side turning signal is working. If you have any type of underglow lighting, you may want to check it at this time. I mean, that's not really a necessity, but it does help. It'll save you from having to do it later. Also, what I tend to do is I check my flashers, make sure they're in operating order, make sure, because even though you may check your left and right turning signal, your flashers may not work. So make sure everything is working. Next on the list is the O. We've already hit T, we've hit C, we've hit L, now it's O. What is O? Your oils. Anything that you have to check. Your oil, transmission fluid, primary, brake fluid. A lot of people forget that, brake fluid, front and back. Now this is also something that you want to keep a very, very close eye on. Like right now, I'm a little bit low on my front brake fluid. And the reason you can tell that is because of the way it is. You see that right there? That little eye? That little eye is where you tell where your brake fluid is at. You've got one here for your front brake, and then you've got one down here for your bottom brake, or for your back brake, I'm sorry. And if you do need brake fluid, it is a .5 for motorcycles. Now also you want to go through, check your lines again. I know we've already done this a while ago when I was checking the tires, but I also go through and just make sure there's no leaks, front and back. Go back here, your caliper, and check everything under here as well. Make sure there's no kind of leaks to your brake lines. And then you want to check your oil. Checking your oil, I typically do before I leave out, every time. This is not a weekly thing. This is not it's every time I leave out. That is important. Oil is the life of your motorcycle. And you run these low on oil and they're done, they're over with. So make sure you check it every single ride. Next on the list is chassis, C for chassis. Suspension, that's kind of one of those things that you can't really tell too well until you're out in the wild, but you can fill it out a little bit. With mine, I know mine's good because I just not long ago put the progressive drop springs and stuff in it. But regardless, if I am checking it, regardless, I'm going to get on the bike and I'm going to rock the bike back and forth with my legs, and I'm going to rock it, and I'm going to hit the front brake and watch the compression. Feel how it does. When you'll know if it makes all kinds of popping sounds, or it doesn't retract back up, or you've got an issue, and that means you need to take care of it. Next would be the rear. Do the rear the same way. Now mine, I have dirty air on the back. I'm constantly working it up and down, so I know for a fact that it's working. Next on the list will be your belt or chain or whatever you have. While I've still got the bike jacked up and in the air, I roll my tire. And I typically do this while I am looking at my tire. I'm also looking at this, but I'm trying to keep you guys aware. If I keep you together and you keep the TCLOCS together, you'll likely to do it together, and then you'll make your own pattern how to do it. But I typically, when I'm working my tires, I'm already checking this belt and seeing how it looks, making sure everything is good, everything's aligned really well, and just checking the belt. Make sure it's not frayed, make sure there's no cracks, nothing that looks like it's going to get out and rip and tear and break. With the chassis check, I also make sure that all my lines for my dirty air lines, I make sure all of those look good. You guys, you'll want to do suspension check. If you know you've got a rider, you're getting ready to ride 2-up, you want to set it up for that. Or if you're just by yourself and you're going to be by yourself and you don't ever have anybody with you, there's no really reason to set it up for that, unless you're just going to, you're leaving town and you're heavy loaded. That would be the only difference. This is about once a month when I do this. I'll go through and make sure every bolt and nut is still tight. That's just a personal habit of mine, and that's what I add into the C part, the chassis part of the TCLOCS. Now let's go to the S. That little thing right there, we touch it all the time, but it's a major part. This could make or break your motorcycle, literally. All it takes is that spring failing and your bike goes over. You don't realize that you put your kickstand down, you go to get off your bike, your feet hit the ground, and so does your motorcycle. That's the least part we pay attention to. And me, well, I probably need to pay attention more often, because honestly, I probably need a new spring. I don't pay much attention to it. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I need to, and I should. And I'm the world's worst for here, telling you guys to do it when I don't even do it. But I don't pay attention to it. I feel it. If it works, I leave it. You know, even right now, I'm missing the little rubber grommet that goes right there to keep from hitting your frame. I've got to get that. It's been gone for 2 or 3 months, and I've known it. But, I mean, regardless, I'm do as I say, not as I do type of thing. Check your spring, make sure everything looks good. Grease it if you need to, you know, check it out. Make sure everything's good. It's got good pull on it. Everything is hooked up and as it should be. Just tips and tricks I also go through. Make sure my exhaust, my mufflers are not leaking because I'm sitting low. So I drag a lot. So I also make sure that they're okay. Everything's tight there. I check my horn. I check it regularly to make sure it's working. I know my pike's louder than the horn is, but regardless, I also use Lucas octane booster. Now, I don't use it every time, about every third fill up. I keep some with me in my tour pack. It keeps everything running good, keeps everything smooth. And I realize that it's an octane booster and I probably don't need the octane part of it, but still yet, it's a peace of mind thing. You never know when you're going to get out somewhere and they're not going to have 91 or 93 and you've got to run cheap 87 through it. When you go through your checks, what do? Put down in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. TCLOCS, tires, controls, lighting, oils, chassis, and side stand. Remember it. Keep it in your brain. Hopefully I taught you something. I don't know. Maybe you might teach me something. You guys put down in the comment section what you do, how you do, and how often do you do it. Do you do it as often as I do, or do you do it less than what I do? So I probably should do some things a little differently, but it is what it is. And another thing, tell me what you guys got in your saddlebags. You guys that running, the OGs that's running touring bikes, what are you running in your bags? Do you got tools? You know, what do you have? Roy makes fun of me a lot. He says, you got enough tools in there to rebuild that Harley. That's what Harleys are known for, is rebuilding them on the road. But that's not why I have them. I have them because I guess I'd rather be safe than sorry, but regardless, I may have a little too much. But either way, I'd like to hear from you. Put down in the comment section what all you guys are running in your tour packs and in your saddlebags. Anyways, guys, that's all I've got for you. Hope you enjoyed the video. Something a little different. Safety, you know, we all need a little safety warm-up thing every once in a while. You know, we can call this a safety meeting, if you will. But anyways, go tell a friend, a loved one, tell anybody you want to stop here at Bad LSX Garage. I'd love to have them. And I'm glad you stopped by. I'm glad you go down there and give me a big thumbs up before you head out and say, hey man, glad to be here. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for you today. You know the deal. Like always, like, share, and subscribe. Peace. I'm out.